Today is pretty laser focused. We're going to be diving into some of the most frequently cited declassified government documents on unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs.
And the goal is simple, really.
Yeah, we want to pull out the hard facts, the documented, verifiable stuff that defines these encounters, and then we want to try and answer the big question.
The really crucial question. Do the official government reports themselves, the summaries, the debriefs, the big congressional reports,
Yeah.
do they ever actually cross that line?
Right. Do they go from just saying unidentified to confirming something is, well, not from here, non-terrestrial?
We're looking for that smoking gun right there in the paperwork.
We're going to be pulling from some key sources. We've got the infamous 2004 Nimitz package, the old Project Blue Book files, and the newer summaries from AARO and the DNI. And we want you, the listener, to analyze this right along with us.
And you see the core tension almost immediately in these documents.
Mhm.
On one hand, you have military recorded performance data that, if you take it at face value, it breaks physics as we know it.
But on the other hand,
But then you have this explicit, really consistent conclusion across all of these official reports. There is, and I'm quoting here, no evidence of non-terrestrial origin.
okay, so let's unpack this. This is the mission for you today.
Yeah.
How do we square these two things? The documented impossible flight characteristics with the government's just flat-out denial of an alien link. Where does the physics end and the proof begin? We have to start with the file that has the most, let's say, contested data, the 2004 Nimitz FLIR-1 encounter.
Tic-tac incident.
Exactly. The package has that 34-second infrared video everyone's seen, but for us, the important parts are the UAP Task Force Executive Summary and the debriefs from the pilots, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate.
And the strength of this file, I think, is that it's supposed to rely on military-grade sensor data, not just what someone saw. It's what the hardware recorded.
But what it recorded is, objectively, hard to believe.
It is.
Let's get right into the verbatim kinematics, the actual performance data from that UAPTF summary. It says the object had, quote, no visible propulsion or flight control surfaces.
No wings, no engine, nothing.
And it was seen accelerating from about half the speed of sound, so 0.5 Mach to supersonic velocities in less than 1 second with no IR plume.
And that no plume part is key. No heat trail.
Then there's the debrief. The pilots recorded the object dropping from 28,000 feet down to sea level in 0.78 seconds.
Yeah, and that's the number that generates the headline. That descent time is where they calculated that instantaneous acceleration of, quote, 400 Gs.
400 Gs. Can you put that number in perspective for us?
I mean, it's not just lethal, it's destructive. A top fighter pilot blacks out around 9 Gs. A missile, an airframe, it would tear itself into pieces at 400 Gs. If that number is real, the technology is. It's not aerodynamic, it's not Newtonian, it's something else entirely.
So, okay, the data points to revolutionary physics. What does the government report say about who built it? Does it say alien?
Absolutely not. And this is the critical point. The exact same report, the UAPTF summary that gives us this mind-bending data, it explicitly labels the object unidentified and states there is no evidence of extraterrestrial origin.
So the data says one thing, but the conclusion in the same document says the opposite.
Exactly. The physics might be impossible, but the official conclusion stays firmly on the ground.
That is the conflict we're digging into.
And you also have to look at what's not in the Nimitz file. There's no mention of aliens or crash retrievals or reverse engineering. And the detailed radar logs, the raw data that could actually prove that 400G acceleration, that's still classified.
Without the raw radar log, the analysis is incomplete.
It is.
Okay, so that forces us to pivot from the wild kinematics to the skeptical analysis. This is where it gets really interesting because now we have to ask why so many analysts, and even some technical reports, reject that 400G number.
Right, and this gets us into the weeds of the tech, specifically the ATFLIR pod. That's the Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared System. The Navy's own reports have this huge caveat buried in them.
Which is?
The pod had no range gate return on the target.
Okay, we need to unpack that. What on earth is a range gate return, and why does it matter so much?
Think of it this way. To know how fast something is really going, you need two things. How fast it seems to be moving, and exactly how far away it is. The range gate is the sensor locking onto the target with radar to confirm that distance. without that lock, without a confirmed range.
The speed and acceleration numbers are just guesses.
They're extrapolations. They're based on an assumed distance.
So it's like trying to clock a jet in the sky. You don't know if it's a small model plane 100 feet up or a jumbo jet 10 miles away. The apparent speed could look the same.
That's a perfect analogy. And that range ambiguity is a fatal flaw for the G-force calculation. Which brings us to the null hypothesis.
The simple explanation.
What if the object was just closer or smaller than they thought? A peer-reviewed analysis by Mick West showed that if you solve for, say, a distant jet's exhaust, the kinematics converge to a subsonic target with IR glare blooming.
So it brings the tic-tac right back into the realm of known physics. But here's my question. If that analysis works, why would the Navy still include the 400G number? And why is it still officially unidentified? Wouldn't they just close the case?
I think that's a fair question. It could be institutional inertia. They reported what the sensors displayed at the moment, even with the flaw. And it stays unidentified, not because it's alien, but because the data is too ambiguous to say for sure what it was.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's broaden out from Nimitz. Does this pattern hold up in other big government reviews of UAPs?
It's the exact same pattern. For decades, look at Project Blue Book. The Air Force investigated over 12,000 sightings.
And a bunch were left unexplained, right?
701 of them, yeah. About 5.6% remained unidentified. But the final overall conclusion was, quote, no evidence that any of the unexplained cases were extraterrestrial craft.
And fast forward to today, the 2021 DNI report.
Same story. It reviewed 144 military reports. 80 of them had readings on multiple sensors, so they were real objects. But the conclusion was, again, quote, we currently lack sufficient data to determine what these objects are.
And what did they think they were?
The leading hypotheses they listed, not aliens. It was foreign adversary drones and sensor artifacts. So the consensus across generations is clear. Unidentified is not proof of extraterrestrial. It's proof that we need better data.
So now we have to talk about the things that are central to the whole lore. The cover-ups, crash retrievals, Roswell. The idea of secret reverse engineering programs. What do the actual declassified files, the paper trail, say about these huge claims?
Well, when you stick strictly to the documents, the stories get a lot more complicated. Let's start with Roswell. It's the origin story, really.
And what do the official reports conclude?
The 1994 GAO audit and the big 1997 Air Force report, the Roswell report, case closed, they both confirmed the wreckage was from a Project Mogul balloon train.
And Project Mogul was?
A top-secret Cold War project. They were using high-altitude balloons to try and listen for Soviet nuclear tests. The wreckage was the balloon array and its radar reflector foil, all very terrestrial.
What about the most powerful part of the Roswell story, the bodies?
Zero mention in the surviving government records. None. No mention of bodies, no mention of materials that couldn't be identified.
Okay, so let's jump ahead. What about the black budget tech theory? The TR-3B, the secret flying triangles we supposedly reverse engineered.
This is a classic case of an illustration becoming a fact in people's minds. The paper trail, the funding, it just isn't there. The term TR-3B doesn't show up in any DoD budget, any contract, any FOIA release. It came from a drawing in Popular Mechanics magazine in the 90s.
A powerful rebuttal based on the absence of evidence where it absolutely should be in the money trail. But what about the overall claim that somewhere a hidden program is still looking at this stuff?
For that, we have to go to the most recent and probably the most authoritative review ever done. The All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, released its historical review in March of 2024.
And what was the scope of that?
It was unprecedented. They looked at every special access program, every so-called black program, all the way back to 1945. They were looking in all the government's darkest corners.
And their conclusion on reverse engineering?
It's definitive. Quote, all examined programs were either conventional aerospace platforms or intelligence gathering systems. None involved off-world technology. If there was a secret program, this was the moment to admit it, and they flatly denied it.
And just to quickly touch on theories that go beyond documents like the ancient astronaut idea with the Sumerian Anunnaki or panspermia.
Right. The Anunnaki were described as sky gods, not metallic craft. And panspermia, the idea that life travels between planets, is a hypothesis about biology, not advanced manufactured technology, making 400G turns in our atmosphere.
So, after all this, what does it all mean? We started with this fundamental conflict. The declassified documents do authenticate that military sensors recorded objects doing, well, physics-defying things.
The phenomenon is documented, and it is real.
But those same documents and every single official review that has followed, Blue Book, the DNI, ARO, they all consistently and explicitly deny any evidence of extraterrestrial origins.
They do.
So the takeaway for you listening to this has to be that the burden of proof for the ET hypothesis is on finding the document, showing where the government says extraterrestrial, not just where they say unidentified.
And if we really want to settle this debate, we need a specific verifiable bar for proof. It would take a single authenticated chain of custody document with three things on it.
First,
1, a unique sample ID number. Proof that a physical object was tracked and logged.
2,
A metallurgical analysis showing isotopic ratios that couldn't have come from Earth. Verifiable proof it was manufactured somewhere else.
and finally, 3.
A signature block from a government lab. Something that confirms the chain of evidence from recovery to analysis. Until a document like that surfaces.
The claim that they're hiding it is logically no different from the possibility that there was nothing there to hide.
The official documents confirm a deep mystery, but they deny the alien explanation.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought for you to consider. If the Nimitz data is accurate, if that 400G acceleration is real and the object is not extraterrestrial, as ARO insists, then these documents are recording advanced technology that breaks our understanding of propulsion.
So we have to ask.
Yeah, which explanation is more unsettling for our future? That we're dealing with revolutionary physics we didn't invent, or that a foreign adversary has developed revolutionary spying technology that's generations ahead of our own?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.